I've dated several avoidants in my life and I've had to break up with them. And what I've learned through these breakups is what I initially feel is guilt because I didn't get that type of reassurance, love, and commitment from the people in my life, like my parents. And so I would come into these relationships and be able to clock their negative patterns and thought processes and think to myself, I could help them heal. I can save them. And that could be further from the truth. And the reason I say that is because eventually it turns into a therapist-client type of relationship or a mother-child type of relationship, and it's very unsexy. Secondly, I would pedestalize my partners in such a way that I would completely ignore the red flags. All the things that were negative, I would go like, no, that's something that they could work on. That's something that we can work on, as if it is my job to correct their bad behavior. And I would also think to myself, oh, we're going to have a happily ever after, completely forgetting that this person does parkour. And at any moment, they could hop off one building to another and fall to their death. And whatever happily ever after I was imagining would end in a casket and me raising the kids by myself. Come on. Thirdly, I then realized that I had let some of their avoidancy rub off on me. For me to completely ignore how dangerous their line of work or hobbies were, just because I thought that there was other parts of their personality that were so awesome, I was demented, honestly. Fourth, I didn't take accountability for why I got into the relationship. And again, it really was because they had things about them that I wish I had. And there was things about me that they wish they had. And instead of merging these things together and figuring out a way on how we could incorporate our different lifestyles or mindsets into each other's lives, we've sort of just put them side by side and lived our lives completely separately, even though we were together. Fifth, it also was a part of a scarcity mindset I had. I didn't think I would find somebody that had that type of personality or had these traits, had the same spunk or humor. I really believed I couldn't find someone with their same look, which is not true at all. In fact, after we broke up, I met several people that looked the same way, that had similar personalities, and had hobbies that weren't as dangerous, that wouldn't jeopardize how our future would look. And I have to admit, I'm sort of a lover girl. Even though I have that tapered, I have it under control, I'm definitely a love at first sight kind of person. And when I have my eyes set, my heart set on something, I'm not letting go until it absolutely destroys me. And I had to learn that if I have this type of mindset, I will eventually or inevitably end up in relationships like these over and over again until I'm an old lady and all the light would have been sucked out of my eyes by then. I didn't want to grow older and look at love through a negative lens. I didn't want to grow older and look at relationships with this sour taste in my mouth. I didn't want to be the type of person that looked at happy couples passing by me with I didn't want that. And I pride myself on being the kind of person that loves love, who gets excited and energized seeing couples and people in community or people in relationships that are healthy. And then it came to me that if I continue to date people like these, I will not have any love to give for when the day comes that it finds me. So the way I moved on from these breakups with avoidance after I broke up with them was taking them off the pedestal, plain and simple. I had to stop thinking of them as this mythical, spellbinding person. They're just a regular human being who just so happens to not be able to show emotion, not show emotion, or share what their needs are, and keep me in the dark about everything. I also had to take a look at how chasing would actually affect my psyche in a negative way. Imagine you applying to a job over and over that continuously rejects your application. And then when they finally do accept you and give you some employment, they don't pay you what you deserve, even though you have all or most of the credentials. You'll just feel unappreciated. I also had to take inventory of how many times I thought about them in a positive light when everything in the relationship didn't reflect a positive outcome, which inevitably ended up in a breakup. And with that being said, I had to put a magnifying glass on all the things that they did not want to do, that they refused to do for the relationship to work. And I magnetized the things that I needed and that I was doing in the relationship to make this relationship work. And what I found is that they were both equally happening at the same rate. As in, I was doing as much as possible to make it work, and they were doing the least possible to make it work. And that's all I needed for me to go, yeah, no, I can't fight fire with fire. And lastly, something I always had to remind myself of was just because someone changes their mind about me or changes their mind about how they want the standard of their relationship to be, doesn't mean that I'm going to change my mind about myself and the standards that I require for a relationship to work with me.